Hello and welcome again to TelecomTV. I'm Martin Warwick and we're here at the Broadband World Forum 2016 in London's Docklands, where I'm talking with Aurelio Nocerino, who is Managing Director of Accenture. Aurelio, good to meet you. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, Martin.
Let's begin like this. Network transformation, and the network transformation we're seeing at the moment, is probably the biggest cultural shift in networks ever, and technological at the same time. Just how important is it?
I think it's key and critical for any telco today. You know that our telco are currently feeling the pressure of the over-the-top that coming from many different angles, consumer and business, and causing their revenue decline and their margin decline on a year basis. So leveraging this opportunity that they have posed by the virtualization and the open source technology is really the way that they have not to be disrupted, but to become disrupted in the new digital connected ecosystem that is has been creating during the last period somehow. This kind of transformation, you know, needs to be driven top-down, having in mind what are the KPI that drive them. And these are very, very simple into these respects. Velocity, cost efficiency, and flexibility are the way to go to measure on a daily basis the successful of their transformation as it happens today.
I'd like to ask you further then, Aurelio, if you would. There's a lot of emphasis these days on open source and the open nature of collaboration between former, not exactly desperate enemies, but certainly competitors and rivals. How important is orchestration in terms of the way network transformation is taking place, and how important within that is open source?
I mean, open source and orchestration are two key ingredients of the digital network transformation. As I was referring before to the cost efficiency and the flexibility, you know, we ran an enterprise survey of more than 300 enterprises around the globe, large and medium business themselves, and they are looking to this new wave of virtual network services, and they are experiencing that while we talk, applying the 3x3 rule. So they expect 30% CapEx saving, 30% OpEx saving, and 3 times the service velocity compared to what they have today. In these respects, to fulfill this kind of customer expectation, being able to orchestrate a different layer, the network transformation itself becomes very critical. And the open source is the lever to have a flexible and open ecosystem that's able to drive down the overall cost of the transformation themselves.
Thank you. Now then, off camera we were talking about orchestration and the way orchestration works with NFV and the transformed network, and you mentioned there are 3 layers as far as Accenture is concerned, as far as the industry is concerned. Tell me what they are.
Yeah. So these 3 layers are, some of these are what the industry currently talk, but I think there is the most important, the less talked about, is the service lifecycle management orchestration itself. You know, as the network becomes more and more software-based, the network as a code type of paradigm, then it happens that the organization itself needs to be transformed and to act more and more as a software development center, able to manage the complex ecosystem that is behind this transformation. You imagine Amazon, one of the biggest over-the-top player that's deploy software packages down into the production every 11 seconds. You can imagine what this doesn't mean for an organization. And being able...
an astonishing number.
Yeah, being able to manage these figures needs automation, needs standardization of the software development lifecycle internal to this organization. And orchestration is something that happens at that layer before anything is being rolled out to production in any case. And most probably this is the biggest cultural shift that the telco themselves need to experience, and the engineering and the operation department of any telco need to experience somehow nowadays. Then it comes into the operation, when you need a self-healing, self-repairing network with 5.9 availability in such a complex environment, data-driven automation, so being able to run automatically any self-healing scripts or procedure in order to recover from any network failure, given the complexity of the network coming from a shared infrastructure, is a critical component as well to mix into the overall picture. Then last but not least, to have the service velocity that is required, to have the flexibility, you need an overall service orchestration that drives the interaction with the digital channel, whether it is your app, your connected TV, or your web portal itself. You need to be able to mix and match the legacy services, the connectivity services, and the virtual services as they rise in a seamless way, keeping an open ecosystem towards your digital channel and an appealing customer experience based on self-service and self-configuration type of concept.
Thanks for that, Aurelio. Now, the next question is, Accenture talks about operating in future mode. What does that mean?
Thank you, Martin. This is another key point, of course. So we as a system integration and consulting company, we have helped in many cases organizations in transforming their business from the current mode of operation to the future mode of operation driven by specific business KPI like we were referring before, so the service velocity, the efficiency and the flexibility itself. As the network become more and more software based, the organization itself, and this is most probably the biggest cultural shift that the telco needs to have, is acting more and more as a software development center somehow, coordinating and integrating the complex ecosystem that sits behind this transformation. So the network equipment provider that becomes more and more network software provider, the open source community that is the backbone of the new network as a code infrastructure, and so being able to manage in an industrialized way the software development lifecycle and the crowdsourcing that happens from the open source community itself. And last but not least, also the internally developed software. So whatever are the automation scripts that the operational engineering team put into place on a continuously basis. So being able to manage this ecosystem in an automatic way and in a fully operational way is the essence of the transformation that the telco needs to undergo to being the disruptor of the digital network.
A final question to you, which is this. Accenture stresses, you stress, that network transformation, despite the new technologies, NFV, SDN, cloudification and so on, we're looking at an evolutionary process, not a revolution. One of the phrases, sentences that I've written down in my notes, I'm going to have to quote from it because it is a sentence long, is this. You talk about an iterative, incremental, self-contained, wave-based transformation across all dimensions to manage complexity without disrupting current operations. Now, that's a very, very clever encapsulation of what's going on, and it's quite easy to read. But I'd like to ask you finally, Aurelio, what does that mean in practice for the service providers and the telcos that are undergoing enormous cultural and technological change in their network?
Yeah, this is a fantastic opportunity for the telco, as we say, to become a disruptor into this space and to find their sweet spot somehow. But again, their current business is there. So most of their revenue comes from their current network itself. So they cannot disrupt their current operation while they transform their network. So what is needed, and we foresee as a viable approach, is an evolution of their current network versus a revolutionary approach somehow. So being able to transform piece by piece and to virtualize piece by piece the network is one key, one ingredient, but the approach that we foresee into this respect is a vertical one, where each wave of this transformation impacts any layer, from the customer down to the network operation itself, so that each wave is self-contained, change the way of working and the way of operating of the people that are impacted in that specific transformation without disrupting the current business. And so wave by wave, TCO driven, KPI driven, you transform your network with an evolutionary approach while you maintain smoothly the current operation itself.
Very, very clear indeed. Aurelio Nocerino, thank you.
Thank you, Martin.